Hello, YouTube. This is BUB'S Comics. Welcome to the No Faces Comic Chats. This is our Monday edition on account of us only having Monday editions. So welcome all to the No Faces Comic Chat. Today we are the Invisible Jet Pilots. So the reason that I like this name more than some of the other names we've had is because I said it myself and I didn't give anyone a chance to say it wrong. So I'm sure Diaz is just dying to chime in on that one. But I just want to remind everyone we're the No Faces chat and the the Invisible Jet Pilots. We drive a normal jet. We fly a normal jet, but we ourselves are invisible while piloting it. So, there you go. With us, as always, we have DS Comics. Say hi, DS.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for being here.
And of course, our human encyclopedia. Of course, we think he's human, but we're certain he's an encyclopedia. Metarog, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Perfect. And as our guest this evening, we have Gills 311. Now, he is not a special guest; he's just a guest. So the difference, of course, and the distinction is that a special guest is someone who generally shows their faces. In chats such as like Deadpool 2323 has been on frequently, JPL Flash. Those guys show their faces in their normal videos. And then for this, they're a special guest because they don't show their faces. But today we have Gills 311, who does not show his face in videos generally. So we want to give a welcome to him. So welcome.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on. And I don't think anybody would want to see my face, even if we turn the camera around, but again, this should be fun. And I know this might last about 75, 90 minutes. I got an engagement here in probably 55 minutes, so I will be leaving you a little bit early. But again, I look forward to this. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we appreciate you coming. Don't worry. Roger will fill any dead space we have. So, no. Okay. No worries about that. So since we're on limited time today with Gills, I really wanted to get into the questions, jump right in. First of all, if you want Gills 311 to go ahead and tell us just briefly about your most recent haul. Well, not most recent, 2 videos ago or so. You had posted this huge haul of a lifetime. It's like, if you're not one of the 500 people who viewed this thing, or it's got like 500 views, if you're not one of those people, I suggest you check it out after this chat. And it's amazing. Somewhere around minute 5, my jaw stops dropping, not because the books don't get any more exciting. They actually keep getting more exciting, but you start kind of getting pissed off somewhere around minute 10. And by the time you get to minute 15, you're like, I hate this guy. This guy, like my only hope is to drive to whatever yard sale this guy's driving to and hit a speed bump on the way and find out it's him with a long box full of books and they're these books. Yep. But other than that, it's an awesome video, and I highly recommend everybody to watch it. But it is one of those videos where if you have the smallest green-eyed monster living inside you, it turns into the Hulk. While watching this video, because it is an amazing haul. And our topic tonight is shipping, and also how we pack our books to and from places. Sometimes I'll get books signed at a con, how I pack them to and from the con, how we transport them once we get them from the comic shop to make sure they keep pristine condition, if we have such a thing. And then, of course, how you ship them when you sell books or AOKs, give books away or whatever, and what your packaging methods are like. And I know Gills has got to be, he's putting a bunch of these books on Instagram and who knows where else, selling off a lot of this big haul. So interested to see what he's got going on. So Gills, I'm going to throw it over to you. Just tell us a little bit about your last haul. You don't have to be as detailed as the other video. They can catch that. And then also let us know kind of what your methods are for packing books around, and especially for preparing them for shipping.
Sure, and I apologize if I'm moving around quite a bit. I'm just trying to get this so you guys don't have to see half my house and potentially my dog poop on the floor in the video.
That'd be awesome. Views go up for that.
That would be something. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
But yeah, thanks for props on that haul video. It has been quite alarming, and you're not the only one that might have might have had their ire risen a little bit. I've had, believe it or not, probably 50 DMs of hate mail. I know it sounds crazy, but it was, hey, would you please give me these books? If you don't, you're a real jerk. It was wow. Some of it was surprising, but again, it's actually, in a weird way, it was such a valuable haul. It's bordering on life-changing at this minute, as silly as that sounds. So thanks for definitely shouting out about it.
No problem. Congrats.
And as far as shipping, and yes, I think I talked to you earlier, 85 orders went out today, and it's literally just me and a laptop and, stacks of Geminis, fullbacks. I will obviously take more care the more valuable the book, but the minimum anything gets if it's shipped is, a single book is in a fullback Mylar with surrounding fullbacks, more than likely a bonus comic, and the minimum is a Gemini. Most everything, if it's multiple books, 3 or 4 per Gemini, and then I'll throw 3 or 4 Geminis in a padded priority box. And so it's, shipping adds up. It's, $13.65 a box. So phew, it doesn't take long to have a big bill.
So I assume that you package all this stuff at your, first of all, let's start with this. So that huge haul that you had, if I recall correctly, they were all loose books. Yep. So it's amazing that you could have so many. I don't know how. We'd really need to talk to the guy who died, really, to find out just how he managed to keep these books in such amazing condition.
It is amazing.
In floppy form,
Yep. That's and amazing. the only thing that I found, I initially looked through the Wolverine ones. I think I had probably about 15 to 20 of those, and I found about half of them had some foxing on the back. And other than that, it was remarkable. And for the collection I dug through, for the tens of thousands of books, 95% of those were newsstand. This guy was a traveling salesman. I believe he sold vacuums, and how he got tens of thousands of newsstand books, I still can't even wrap my, like, how would you possibly do that? Would you go to every Walmart, every Walgreens, how on earth could you do it? It's mind blowing.
Wow.
Well, it was a bit easier in the 80s to
true, very true. But to get, for example, I didn't grab all the Beta Ray, the Thor 337s. He had 400 of them.
Oh,
I mean, still in whenever that book came out, 83, 19, whenever that book came out, how on earth are you going to get hundreds of newsstands? That takes a lot of work.
Another thing that he might have done is that he might have had an arrangement with a newsstand distributor. And that was not an uncommon thing for people that were on the road a lot. Mm-hmm. They would have them order in advance a certain amount of copies and set aside for them.
Yeah, that's what it had to be. I mean, it's just absolutely not one book there was a single. I mean, there was, like I say, what I pull out, 40 238s that were, I mean, they're all but one's going to come back. I mean, I know it sounds silly to say 9898. They're absolutely pristine. Crazy.
Wow. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I did I was like everybody else when you started watching it, and then I also saw some of your posts on Instagram with it, and it's mind-blowing. Any one of those books is a decent copper key, the ones we're talking from the 80s. But when you look at them adding up, and you're posting specifically on the Instagram, when you did them by section, you showed all the ASM 252 newsstands, and then you show, all the Secret Wars 8 newsstands. And I just did a quick calculation, like they're mostly 9.8s, I'm sure. Okay. Just the ASM 252s in the one post is like $15,000 worth of books if they come back 9.8s. And so to say that's life-changing, that's the first thing I thought when I first saw the first group of issues. I instantly thought that's life-changing, because 15,000 can change your life, not massively, but I mean, if you can get $15,000 worth of books in a haul, that's a huge haul. And that's just the tip of your iceberg that you got. It's definitely life-changing. I mean, that's the type of lot that when we're hunting or we're buying lots or we're trying to flip books or whatever that we dream of. The Mile High collection is one thing, but these come along every now and then, these days, and yours is the best one I've seen in a while. So congratulations on getting that. And I was definitely jealous, but I was not angry. But I was just like, man, how I want that lot. I would just take some of that. Like just the ASM 252s would be a major find.
Right.
So,
and I can't
yeah.
say that, you know, all of, I mean, I've looked through 1,000 long boxes, or I've bought 1,000 Turok ones, Cyber Forces, Man of Wars, to get to this. But, yeah, this definitely makes up for literally everything. And if a lot of people that have paid attention to some of my videos, you know, they know it's kind of been a struggle. You know, I've literally hustled. I bought my first comic book in January, and with $5 in my pocket, and I've literally traded my way up to be able to advertise that I need, you know, I want to buy comics, and it, you know, finally today, or you know, a few weeks ago, it paid off. So it's just remarkable. I mean, it's yeah, definitely life changing.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to ask you about, and then I'll be quiet and everybody else can chime in on this. But
yeah, sorry guys,
we doubt it.
I don't mean to hog the.
No, the other thing I wanted to ask you about this is not only when you find something like that, I found valuable lots before, nothing like that. But when you have a massive amount of books that you're going to flip, initially you're overjoyed and you're ecstatic. You're like, oh my God, I struck gold. And then after a few days or a week, it sets in that now you have a major amount of work ahead of you. You have to organize. You have to look at all these books. I was thinking I would get them all graded, but I mean, that massive amount of work for one person to even package those and send them to CGC, and then the cost up front to get those graded, and then the shipping cost, and then the space. My God, to have space to put all those, to pack them up. I mean, you need more than a separate room fully dedicated to that for weeks. It's can you talk about like what's the hard work and the obligation that's going into this now?
Yeah, that obligation part of it is something I didn't expect. But one thing, you know, I've sent a lot of the 232s off. I sent 7 or 6 of the Batman Adventure 12s off. Those are the only books I'm going to get graded, because there has to be somebody, there has to be a middleman in this pipeline. And I would prefer to, like you said, if I just grade, I mean, the 232s are going to come back, you know, $1,100 a book for a newsstand with tattoos. I mean, those are 30 grand right there. That's enough for me just to stay with the
ASM 238.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 238s. So now I can be that middle guy. So I can sell you books. You know, I'm not going to sell a raw 238 for $100. I am going to charge a premium, because all of the books that I've sold to people raw are coming back the 9/8. So there has to be somebody to fill that space in the market to sell high grade raw books. That way people can make profits. The books are more obtainable. And if I just slabbed everything and sold them for a premium, I'm not going to move as much product. So I'd rather move more of these books than I would slab them all and then, you know, have to charge $1,000 a book. I don't want to do that.
There you go. That's admirable for certain. And I have to say that I also appreciate, you know, the raw books. You know, yeah. I like slabs too, but honestly, some of those books that I saw that you had, and honestly, one of the reasons why you're on here is because I intend to DM you and tell you, if you don't send me all those books, then it's not a threat, but I'm gonna cry. I'm probably gonna cry a little bit either way, but that's but in any case, for me, you don't see a lot of high grades that aren't slabbed. They're almost all slabbed.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, 6.0 and under, you can get a raw book, but once it starts creeping into that, you know, 6.5 to 7.5 range, most of them are already getting slabbed. And so, you know, people who probably don't know very much about grading and think it's a 9.8, but they're slabbing it anyway, and they're not going to crack it out of the slab and then sell it to you. So there becomes this big gap in the books that I'm looking to buy. You know, people, I'll agree with people. I'm a low grade collector generally. And that's because if it's going to be raw, then actually my raw books are higher grades than my slabs, because those are books that I acquired other ways, and I was happy to have them, and they're in pristine condition, and I like to read still. So I'm reading through those books and I'm not getting them slabbed. But there's a big gap right there in the market of high grade raws. You just can't find them. And when you do, someone wants to charge you for the price that it would be as if it was already slabbed.
Sure.
Which is a little frustrating as well. So,
right. And I'm not necessarily giving them for, a raw BA12 that I know is going to come back in 9.8. And I mean, I've even guaranteed a lot of my books. So, I'm going to get a pretty penny for it, but it's going to be half what it would cost slab. And if it doesn't come back in 9.6, I'll give you back most of your money. So it's just the way I prefer to do it.
Yeah, well, the
That's
closest I've come to anything like that in that style is I got a stack of Marvel Team Up 141s. About, I think 7 or 8 of them, I can't remember what it was, a couple of years ago. And half of them were newsstands. And they all were just stacked up like with a bunch of other books. So they all had spine rolls, but they were all perfect condition other than the spine roll. I sent them all in and got them pressed and graded, and they all came back 9.8s. And I sold them over time, and I just sold the last 2 newsstands this year. And I made a good amount off of those, and that was only 8 books. I couldn't even imagine coming into something like this. But
yeah, I think I had 43 of those 141s.
Yeah, I know. I saw that, and I was like, man, I thought I hit the jackpot when I found 8 of them.
Yeah, that's a hard book to get in a 9.8, man. Census numbers on that are pretty ridiculously low for a 9.8. That's a real hard book.
Yeah,
really
the
awesome.
last, those 9.8s. The last time I sold an ASM 252 direct edition 9.8 CGC, and I sold the Marvel Team Up 141 9.8, but it was a newsstand. The 141 outsold the 252 just a couple months ago. So I mean, that's a valuable book. And the 238s are over 1,000 in 9.8. The 252s newsstands are 1,000. I mean, that's an awesome lot.
Yeah.
I think that's a Ms. Marvel ones in there too, right?
Yeah, I think they're. Well, I just sold a lot of 10 newsstand that were all, I mean, really, really nice. They're all 9.4s and better. So I still have about 10 of those left. So I think there's about 20 of Ms. Marvel ones, and I think that's number 1 on Go Collect's hottest comic period right now, isn't it?
wow.
You say so.
Yeah, I'm not. It's funny. So that book struck a chord with me when I saw you flipping through those books, and my wife and I watched your video together because I think every wife should see this video. I think there's no doubt. I mean, I've been showing my wife pictures of the Instagram haul for like a week now, and I finally threw the video at her to like, hey, look, but she is already supportive of me and of all this, and for me, my hobby / addiction is also self-funding, so that's important.
Absolutely.
I haven't bought a book. I haven't paid my own money for a book in over 6 months, and I just started this past year really, really collecting hard.
Yeah.
So what happens is that the wife's or whoever your significant other is, I looked at her and I was like, that's a house. He's got a small house there. Because we talk about where you're going to sort all these books. Well, buy a house and throw them in there. So it's definitely life-changing.
Yeah.
It would have to be. And it's pretty amazing, really, just overall. It's amazing haul. Congratulations. All the props. I was wondering, like, how soon after do you go back and, like, did you get a chance to look through every box, or did you want to go back and say, "Oh, is there anything more I missed?" Or
yeah, I did, and the gentleman hasn't returned any more calls, so I think I spooked him. And what I did, and one thing I don't ever do, like the first time I went out looking for comics, I went to a garage sale, and it actually had a showcase. Is it 4 or 9? I always get that number mixed up. The first flash, and it had a 181. 4, yeah, and it had a 181 in it. And I brought those back, and I paid like it was $2 for the lot. And I ended up selling them and then brought that lady half the money. It was a ton of money. I never, ever, ever want to take somebody's stash of comic books for nothing, because, if it was a comic book shop, that's one thing. But if it's somebody at a garage sale, if it's in somebody's basement, I absolutely won't do it. So I told the person, I said, I can't buy all these books for what you want. How do we need to work it out? And he said, why don't you just fill a box for 500? And I flat out said, there could be a gold mine. And he's like, it's fine. So I prefaced that. I got the Spider-Woman 1 and Marvel Spotlight 32, I believe, mixed up. So I could have had a stack of those as opposed to the Marvel or the Spider-Woman 1. That's really the only mistake I made. I mean, there's probably 1,000 She-Hulk ones, 1,000 X-Men 141s. The 101, I forgot to even look for it, but I know it's in there. Yeah, and so it's all there. But enough.
I think you did okay. I think you did all right. Just
yeah.
Just my opinion there. I think you did okay.
Yeah, I think you did pretty good.
Yeah,
and Bub's right about that. You're good for us in that regard, because now when I go garage sailing, my wife is like, "Oh yeah, go ahead and go. Go ahead."
Exactly.
Right, because there's potential. Like I just went this past weekend with Deadpool 23, and we picked up some okay stuff. Nothing like that. But she's like, "Oh yeah, sure. There could be a gold mine out there. Yeah, there could be."
It's out there, and I just from when and why this haul was such a life changing is if you've watched my other videos, I do erase a lot of stuff. But a couple of years ago, I got terminally ill. Lost a lot of stuff, my job, house, all this kind of stuff, and my insurance didn't pay for my illness, so everything came out of pocket, and so I've had 6-figure medical debt. And in this haul, that's what I mean by life-changing. It's allowed me to get out from under that. But so I've had a lot of free time, and it's a 60-hour-a-week job now. I mean, it's watching YouTube videos to learn. It's, it's advertising in every newspaper in the state. It's doing all that kind of stuff. So all you got to do is hustle, and you will find it. Just put in the time. And most of you I know don't have, you've got your jobs and wife and potentially kids. So, I have the luxury of, as weird as it sounds, of losing a career and finding comic books to supplement that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been something.
I'm very glad that you found it, honestly, when I first saw it, because I remember the what you went through, and I think somebody did a video for you. Was it Symphonic Elk? Yeah,
one of my absolute favorite people that I've found on YouTube. What a good guy. There was quite a few that did videos for me, and it was just the most touching thing ever. And it more than likely propelled me to keep going. So yeah,
I did one for you too, but it was a while back.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I saw it, and I am.
But I remember that. So when I saw your video, I was like, I'm happy for you, because everything you've gone through. There's that the sunshine came out a little bit. I'm sure Absolutely. This is just a small, considering what you went through, it's a small recompense, but still in all, it's something that, at least now, you have that option, that you didn't have before.
Sure. Yeah. I appreciate that. It's been something.
Yeah. And let me just say for others out there who are thinking it, but aren't going to say it, I will carry the burden for all of those. If I find a Showcase 4 and a Hulk 181 at a garage sale for $2, I probably would have a very hard time going back and giving them money for that. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I mean, I would offer them more, and I'd be like, no, this is worth more than $2. But I'm not going back and splitting proceeds. I feel like the finding it, the saving it, passing it on to somebody who's going to cherish it is the job of, if you're trying to flip books and you're hunting and you're putting your time of your life and your effort into that. And I think some people will go back and share it, or tell somebody, hey, this is worth a lot of money, I can't afford it, and pass on it. But I think there's a lot of people that won't do that, and I think it's just a different perspective of it. But it generates good karma by doing that, for sure.
Right.
I would have a very hard time doing that. I think a lot of people would have a hard time doing that. And however it comes across is how it comes across. I mean, that's what it is. But I see a different way of doing that, and So, that was something that came up. I think Silver Age Dave did a video a while back about that issue, and I felt like I was the only one that spoke up on it in that way, with that perspective. And so I'm sure I'm the only one saying it now. I may lose a bunch of subscribers. Everybody might think I'm a jerk, but I mean, I feel like saving the art and passing it on to somebody who will cherish it, and putting all your time and effort and hunting for this stuff, that's the reward you get for putting the work in. That's how I feel about it.
Sure. No, it doesn't make you a jerk. That's.
Well, give him time, Gills.
Yeah, he hasn't been on here.
He started digging about a foot.
Yeah, it's only the first part here.
But I think a lot of people say that, it's easy to say that here's what my point is, I guess. It's easy to say that you would, if you found an AR-15 at a yard sale for $1, you would tell the person what it's really worth and not take it for $1. It's easy to say that. But for you to actually go back and give money for those books is something that a lot of people would say they would do, and I think far fewer would actually do it. And I'm just honest with myself, I'd have a hard time actually doing it. You know, so other people like you, it's not, it's, you know.
I have done it once because I did the other thing. I found a few rare comics and I said, listen, this is worth more, but I can pay you double. And then they said, no, I'm not selling it to you. I was the one who discovered it, right? So next time what I did is I bought it, not from the same seller. It was years later. I bought it, and then I went back and I gave them more money because at least that way I have it.
Yeah, it's already locked in, right?
It's already locked in. Okay,
Right.
that's what I did because I think it's highly unfair that this may have gone in the trash if I didn't buy it, and all of a sudden now you don't want to sell it to me, even though I'm giving you a close to a fair price to it.
Right.
Yeah, and if you're really trying to make a go of it, as like what it sounds like, Gil's, what you're trying to do is sort of make a business out of it. You know, you're trying to make a livelihood out of it, and there's a lot of people competing in that space. There's, you know, a limited number of books, and everybody's out searching for them. And if you find something that could be the difference for your business in making bills, paying rent, those type of finds can be huge profit margins. And it's, you know, it's easy to say that you would give money away, but most people in that situation, when they're, especially if you're flipping books, it's part of your business mindset. You try to maximize your profit margins, and you know, that's what I would be doing if I were doing that. You know,
right.
And
to be completely, honest,
that I would tell the kid keep it. And I've actually given valuable books to kids, and I won't buy books off of people who are not adults because they don't really know what they have sometimes. But if an adult's selling something for whatever, you know, that's on them. And I'm doing it as a business. I'm trying to make money. You know, that's a business transaction. That's how I see it. But
sure, hey, that makes total sense. There's no moral deficit there at all. I wouldn't.
Well,
I mean,
DS, I'm, you know, you and I are of like mind on stuff like this easily, but I'm trying to remove myself from the situation because I would do the same thing you would, honestly. DS, you and I we're kind of hard asses. I don't think that's any secret.
yeah.
We're not dropping a bomb here on anybody. But you know, Joker 68's in the chat, and
hey, Joker, what's up, man?
You know, what's up, Joker? Glad. Don't chat too much if you can't chat too much, but we're glad you're here. You know, he has a lot of illness going on too, and he's in and out of being able to do a whole lot. And you can stop me, Gills, if I get out of line. But you know, to me, I think that there's a different mindset to people who are in a position where they have a terminal illness, or where they've been that close, or they feel like maybe there's less time that they have than someone else of their age normally has. And so when that happens, those types of, you can call it karma or whatever else, but you know, I don't know. It's like the old lady at the nursing home giving everybody a quarter that walks by, just hoping they're the ones that give witness someday.
Yeah, right.
I'm not trying to be callous about it, but I think that changes someone.
Well, to be completely honest, I mean, for example, this haul, you know, things are a little bit different. That was one of the first, probably within the first 6 weeks of me collecting books. And like, for example, you know, this haul that I got is probably going to be 6 figures. I haven't went back yet. You know, I haven't given them. So, you know, things have, you know, evolved a little bit, but at that time, you know, for me to pay a couple dollars for some books, and I think I sold them for just over 5,000, and I probably way undersold them because I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground at the time. But, you know, I just kind of thought, man, you know, if those are my books, you know, and her same situation, her husband passed away. So, you know, she didn't know. And would I want somebody to come into my garage sale and score something like that if I didn't know anything about it? And so I just, you know, I thought about it when I got the money, and I just thought, you know what, you know, look, I am a true believer in karma. I know that's a cliche thing to say, but I'm a true believer in it. And, you know, I'd still have $2,500 in my pocket. At that time, being unemployed for so long, that was a huge amount of money to me. And, you know, that night when I went back home, I was so glad I did it. It was one of the best. That feeling of doing that was worth $2,500. There's no doubt about it. And I don't think I would have got this last haul if I didn't do that.
There you go.
And that's
I agree.
probably why I have
It
not
is
come
a
into
good
a hall like that. I have generated nothing but ill karma for myself. So,
No, you haven't.
it is what it is. I just wanted to throw that out there.
It is.
I think I don't want others to have the similar perspective to me in business transactions like that, to feel like they are alone or they're afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say it. It's a business. When I look at business transactions, that's how I look at it. Other things, Joker68 mentioned, if you find a wallet on the side of the road. If I found a wallet on the side of the road with a license in it and $1 million in cash, I would contact the person and give it back, because I feel like that is dishonest. That would be like stealing. Right? That's not a business transaction. That would be, I would do everything I could to get that money back to that person.
Right
but if somebody's selling something, it's their responsibility to know what they're selling. And if they don't, and I buy it and I make a huge profit on it, that's business. That's how I see it. But
I think
can't
in
disagree.
general, that's probably where the hate mail comes from. That'd be my guess. Are the people that are jumping on it and really they're just being self-righteous because that's the cheapest thing to be, in my opinion. So, I think that that's where the haters are coming in, because they're like, you know what, if it were me, I would have done this and I would have done that, and he should do this, and how easy is it to perch like that and preach it out? So I think that's where a lot of the hate comes from, and I don't think it's deserved. I watched the videos, I've watched others of your videos, and there's very few people, even in the comic book community, that I would not wish a good haul like that on. I think you'd have to be pretty low on my list, and I'm probably not subscribed to you if that's the case. If I dislike you that much, then, but really I can't, anyone in the comic community, I'd have been very happy and very pleased. And it's reaffirming, I think, for the hobby, for all of us, all of us are hustling a little bit in our own way. Even if you're the guy who's going to the littlest comic shop in your little nook of the woods, and there's 4 people waiting online and you're the first one when it opens the doors at noon on Wednesday. Good for you. That's your little hustle to get what you want. It doesn't have to be to buy books and sell books. It could just be because you want the book, and you got to beat the flipper who's behind you, Yep,
absolutely.
So, I appreciate everyone's effort in what they give this hobby. And it really speaks to the passion that all of us have, whether it's a passion to make money on the hobby while collecting or just purely to collect. It's that passion that really keeps the industry, if you will, going, and keeps the rest of us collectors from, there's always a little bit of hope. When I see these big yard sale finds and these estate finds and the peddlers malls and the, charity shops and all this stuff, it gives me hope that someday I'm going to stumble across the book that means so much to me. It doesn't have to be because I can make a profit on it, but whatever it is, I hope I find it, and I'm glad you guys are finding yours. So that's how I feel about it.
Right on.
So I think we've got poor Gills. We've raked him over the coals.
No, man. I'm a glutton for attention. So other than people erasing my videos or not showing my face, but no, I'll talk over you guys all day if you let me. So just tell me to shut up.
That job's taken by Roger, but we'll holler at you if he's unable to participate 1 month or 1 week. DS.
Yes, sir.
Let me start this over. I don't want to single anybody out.
I'm fine being singled out. I speak my mind. It's whatever. I'm old enough not to care what people think, and I'm confident enough when what I think, and I'm honest with myself. So single me out. Ask whatever you want. Let's hear it.
All right. So now I was on a YouTube listing, not a YouTube, eBay listing the other day. And someone put at the end of their listing, after they warned and threatened that if you did not pay within 24 minutes, that your order would be canceled.
Yes. Sounds familiar.
Oh, I love this topic.
Then right after that, it said, after all that hyper legitimate stuff, and I mean, I have to admit, it is such a perfect listing that I just sent a ASM 252 to be graded. And I'm hoping it comes back at a 9.8. I think it's a 9.6 at least. And I'm going to cut and paste everything from this guy's listings onto my listing when I go to sell it, because it's just perfectly worded, except for the last line, which states, "I ship in bomb-proof packaging."
Yes, I do ship in bomb-proof packaging, and I'd be happy to explain the system I've developed and why I think.
Please do. That's why we're here. I want to hear about bomb-proof packaging.
All right, so there's different levels of packages that you can put comics in, and they go from total crap, worthless, which would just be a manila envelope, no bag and board, and then the mailman just rolls it up and sticks it in your mailbox. Everybody's gotten those before. Insane that somebody would send a comic book like that.
I've gotten them. I got them recently.
All right, so then we move up to like the USPS flat rate mailers, or the priority mailers. It's like an envelope, but you can put cardboard around the comic and put it in that, and it's like $6.35 to ship it. That's better. You can use a lot of cardboard. I still don't feel that's sufficient protection. I used that for a while. I stopped using it. Then the next step is the Gemini mailers. Those are really good. They're not bomb-proof, but they're rock solid. I get anything in Gemini mailer, I'm very happy. They usually survive very well. And then what I've progressed to and what I use now is I custom buy boxes from a company called Uline, and you can specify basically whatever size and type of box you want, and it's corrugated cardboard. It's much better than the USPS boxes. They have those priority medium flat rate boxes. Those aren't corrugated. Those are flimsy as hell. I don't use those. I don't like getting comics in them. Those are ones you see routinely on YouTube and Instagram. People get them and they're smashed. They don't hold up. They're not sturdy. I don't use them at all. I buy boxes that are just big enough to hold a comic or a graded comic or a stack of comics, but not so big that there's a lot of empty space, but not so small that it's restricting and that the slightest bend is going to bend the whole package. So I buy custom size boxes. I use cardboard around all the comics. I put them in a separate envelope. I tape the envelope shut. Then I put cardboard on the top and bottom of that envelope so that when you finally get to the envelope, you can just open the flap and pull the comics out. I don't ever want anybody having to put a blade next to tape, next to the comic books. I always cover the comic books in an envelope and tape that envelope to the cardboard. And then I will put bubble wrap around it just so it doesn't shift in the box. And then I will put cardboard again on the top and bottom as another layer of protection. And then I will put that inside the box and seal the box. And I use literature mailers of corrugated cardboard. And I'll tell you, I tested it once with a slab, and I went up to the second floor, and I threw it up in the air and it landed on the road. And I did that several times. And it had some dings on the corner, but the slab was intact. The box essentially was undamaged except for some dented corners. So, yes, I think it's bomb-proof, and that's what I use. I would caution anyone from shipping things in the USPS priority boxes, those flat rate boxes. They're really flimsy. They're not corrugated cardboard. They get destroyed very easily. They're great because they're a flat rate. You can fit a lot in them, but they're really not sturdy at all. They're very collapsible. So that's my shipping method I've developed over the years.
Sounds bomb-proof.
And I have never had a customer complain that they received a damaged comic ever from me. So that's never happened, and I don't think it ever will.
Doesn't sound like it.
Wow.
Unless it's the comic that you threw in the air and kicked into the street. I mean, if somebody got that, they might be upset.
Yeah, and I have people, there will be some buyers on eBay before an auction ends will hit me up and be like, why are you charging so much for shipping? I charge $10 for shipping for anything, a single book, a graded book, a couple raws, whatever. I charge $10 shipping because I buy custom boxes. There's some materials I use. I ship at priority, but it's not a flat rate. So if it's California, it's like $13. If it's East Coast, $7 or $8. But that's the shipping I charge, and I guarantee it'll be shipped the next day, priority mail, and I guarantee it'll arrive in perfect condition. And when you open it, I even put the tape on in such a way where I fold it over so that you don't have to use a blade to even get to the comics. You just pull the tape where the tabs are to get the cardboard off and the bubble wrap, and then to get to the envelope, you just pull the tabs on the tape. You get the envelope, and it's almost like a comic bag I've made, and I just cut it to size. And you just pull the tab and it opens the envelope and you pull the comics out and there they are in brand new bags and boards. So
over taping is a real problem.
Yeah,
when people tape all the way around and the only way and it's a raw book and it's right there next to the tape between the cardboard and you've got to cut that tape with a box cutter or something. Sometimes it's a precarious situation because the book is right there at the tape and you've got to cut the tape and the tape goes all the way around. And sometimes you can't even see where the book is exactly, and I don't want to stick a blade down in it. So When I ship, I make sure that you don't even have to use a blade at all.
Amen.
Yeah, I've seen the double over folded tapes where they have like a little tab. They'll fold a tab into it, and then you can pull them back. I've received books that had little arrows on them saying "pull tape this way."
Yeah, that's what I do. I write
Mm-hmm.
pull next to the tabs on the tape so you can see where the tabs are.
Yep.
I love it.
Hey, fellas, and
it
everybody
takes a lot
watching.
of time for me to package something up.
Oh, sorry, it's 6:45. I got to go meet some people for dinner, and then I've got an hour and a half deep tissue.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, and I just want to say, hey, thanks for having me on. This was cool, and that flew by. I did most of the talking, so I apologize if I chewed up too much time. But thanks a lot. That was awesome. And can I say something about this Thanos quest real quick before I go?
Yep. Sure.
Okay. All the books that's out there, for all the comic stories, we hear that the Infinity storyline, the Hush storyline, the Days of Future Past. This is the book to me that really got it rolling. It's an underappreciated book. It's the reason I got it. I think it's the best comic of all time, and you can buy it for like $150. So let's get Thanos Quest #1. It needs some appreciation. So I just wanted to give some love to it. Jim Starlin, just that's all I got to say. It's just the greatest comic book ever, and I think it needs more love. So there's my love.
There you go. All right, everybody go out and buy that book. Available on Instagram today from Gills311.
Oh, no way. I'll never sell that.
He's going to send it over to DS, and DS is going to bomb-proof it, and then you're going to get it back. So
well, I just wish he would have told me this a couple years ago when I had 2 mint copies that I sold for virtually nothing. So
you can still buy it for next to nothing. And the census numbers are low. It's mind-blowing that that's such a cheap book.
Yeah, I had 2 I bought when I was a kid, and I kept them in mint condition all those years, and then I ended up selling them off a couple years ago.
Yeah, that prestige format, if you open that cover a little bit too much, it starts getting that crack down there.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Right on. Hey, guys, thanks a lot. And just wanted to, peace out to everybody. Be like I always sign off. Be good to one another. Give somebody a high five, a hug, pay somebody a compliment. There's just not enough good in the world these days, so it's our job to spread it.
All right. Amen. Thanks, Gills311.
Thanks, man. It's been a blast.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
Well, I really appreciate y'all. I know it was kind of a surprise to DS and to Roger that I was going to have him as a guest today. I didn't know he had other engagements. I didn't want to tell you all that he was definitely going to be on. I didn't know if he was going to be able to make it. So, well, obviously he did. So he's
yeah, I've talked to him before. I was ready, and that was a surprise when he told me it was him. I was like, hell yeah, let's talk about that haul he got. So that was great.
Cool. I'm glad y'all enjoyed that. DS, I think you're good on your bomb-proof packaging methods, right? I was going to ask you too, while you're talking about that, what do you do when you took a bunch of books to the con recently? Surely you're not going through all that, packaging those books before you leave the floor. So how are you transporting your books? Because that was a big drive for you, as I recall, or a decent size trip. So how are you packaging them to the con? How do you handle them when you're walking through the con? And how did you get them back home?
Well, here's what I did. I put some thought into it, and like I said, I hadn't been to a real con in a long time. So I went out. First, I got a piece of cardboard and cut it to the exact shape and thickness. I used a couple pieces of cardboard of a slab, and I took that with me to the store and shopped for a backpack that would fit several of those.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I got the backpack. I found a good one cheap. I think I bought it at Walmart for $10 or something. Then I've got the slabs that I wanted to bring, and I put cardboard on each side, and I just put 2 rubber bands around it to hold it in place, and I put them in the backpack. And I kept that on my back the whole time while I was walking around. And when I wanted to sell one to a dealer or discuss it, I took the backpack off and pulled the book out and showed them and put it back in if they didn't want to buy it. And eventually I did sell them. And then, I just carried them around in my backpack. And yeah, I felt safe and secure. I didn't feel like anybody was going to pull that backpack off of me or even know what was in there. There's so many people at cons with backpacks, it doesn't stand out. And, I felt like that was a secure way to do it. And it worked out well.
That's cool. I like that. And so when you put them in it just fit easily, or did you put like boards between them, or you just throw the slabs in there?
I put a piece of cardboard on each side of each slab. So I sandwiched each slab between cardboard and put like 3 rubber bands around it, so it would hold them tight. So they were protected, but even though they were going to be on my back the whole time, I wasn't, running or doing any type of crazy activities with it. So it was, yeah, they're pretty safe, and it was easy because when I wanted to take the backpack off and pull one out to show a dealer, I just pulled the rubber bands off, show them it. If they didn't want it, I put it back in between the cardboard and put the rubber bands back on and put it back in the backpack.
That's awesome.
So yeah, much less of a system, but still I kept them very protected. I mean, the books I brought were big books. I mean, I sold a Hulk 181 for, almost $5,000 at that con. I was walking around with it, for hours before I sold it. So wanted to make sure it didn't get damaged, but it was on my back the whole time.
That's cool. That works. I mean, as long as I like that and I didn't expect anything less, but I like that you had a system that you looked at it systematically and decided the best way to pack them around. I generally use like a little gray duffel bag. I don't. Usually the books I'm dragging around are raw, and I'll put them in Gemini shippers and put them in the bag. Or I have some. Sometimes when I buy slabs, they'll come in like pre-cut slab holders. So I'll put them in those. I pretty much anytime I get a Gemini mailer or any kind of slab mailer in the mail, I keep them. I take the label off and I keep them, and that's what I use either to ship books back out. So every book I ship usually is a Gemini mailer or a slab mailer. I ship them back out in those packaging, and that's also what I use to take the conventions or from packing around. I keep those with me so that I don't damage the books, especially after I get them signed or something. And I usually take some loose bags and boards too to the convention. That way, if I come across a raw book, I don't damage it in the bag because things start to swim in there. And of course, I'm holding a bag. I got my wife and my son with me in a lot of these cons. So all of a sudden, pop figures start getting thrown in there, and Disney cruise ticket flyers to get thrown in there. I'm like, oh, come on, guys, this is for books. Yeah, right. You carry it all. So, but my wife's really good. She'll hold that bag for me a lot, like so I can dig with 2 hands. So that's really helpful.
Well, I wasn't prepared to I didn't think about the stuff that I bought. So when I sold the couple slabs I had. Then I bought a couple books. I kept the cardboard from the slabs I sold, and I only bought 2 books. I mean, I was prepared to buy some big books, so I knew I wasn't going to be buying 25 or 30 or 50 raw books. So I only bought 2 books, 1 slab and 1 raw, and I just used the cardboards from the ones I sold and put the new ones that I bought in between those and walked out with a backpack that had 2 different books in it than the ones I brought there. So, that was a plan. Yeah, it worked out. I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. If I would have bought 20 or 30 books, I would have had a problem. But
that's cool. I had also when I shipped them, I don't like the flat rate boxes either, just because every time I get one, there seems to be a dent in it, or it seems to be chipped out, like a notch chipped into it, and I'm always worried that I'm going to get something broken when I receive them. So I don't usually ship in a flat rate box, but what I will do, and if I do, I'll still do it this way. I'll take a Gemini mailer. I trim the top edges off a little bit. You can trim like a 1/2 inch off each side, so about 1 inch total, and it fits perfectly inside of a bubble wrap mailer, like a flat rate bubble wrap mailer. So that gives a little extra protection, a little bounce to it if it happens to drop. And then I'll send it in that. And if that's not enough, or it's an even more expensive book, I'll do that inside of that, and then put all that inside a flat rate box, and I'll send that. So that's usually my shipping methods. And I told you how I pack my books around. What about you, Roger? How are you dragging them about?
Well, I generally don't drag anything, but as a general rule. Now, what are you talking about? That glare's terrible. Let me take that off. Are you talking about in a convention or in a ship or what?
Either way. Both. And also when you're picking up, because I was interested to know what you do as well, because you go to a lot more yard sales than I do, because there's just not that many in my area that have anything to do with comic books. I've scoured over them for the last 2 years, and I've yet to buy a comic book at a yard sale. Just keep looking, and I haven't found any. But I'm always prepared. So I was wondering if you prepare to find things at a yard sale, because usually those are going to be raw and they're going to be floppy. So how do you transport them too? When you buy a bunch of books at yard sale, do you try and protect them at all on the way home, or you just don't care? You throw them in your floorboard and use them as a mat.
Well, I mean, I don't do that, but well, this last time I didn't bring my backpack. I usually do. I have a backpack that I have like some extra bags and boards and so forth, and that's what I use mostly at the conventions, actually, because you know how you have to lean down sometimes to get to the bottom boxes, and et cetera, et cetera. But at garage sales, it's generally not quite as extensive because they're generally fewer comics. So I don't prepare quite as much for that. I mean, if I have my car with me, then generally I will have a few bags and things in there. But like this last time, I didn't really. I was in a rush because I had to get over there to Deadpool 23's early, and I forgot my backpack. I forgot my extra bags. I forgot everything. So thank God that everything we found was already bagged and boarded. So that helped, except for I think at the pawn shop there were a few that were not bagged, but I just put 2 to a bag. But generally, if I go to a convention now, in the old days, nothing was bagged and boarded, right? In the late 70s and 80s, very few things were bagged and boarded. Only the wall books, right?
Yeah.
So back then, yeah, I had my backpack. I don't remember what it was. It was just a generic backpack, and I would put a box inside of there, and in there I'd either have a plastic like a. Back then they didn't. They did have bags, but you had to get them from Robert Bell. They were expensive. So I generally, my father had a restaurant, and he had like these plastic bags that some of the dry goods came in. So that's what I had in my backpack.
Well, that's cool.
I would put them in there like 5 or 10 at a time, and that's what I would generally use for the convention. Now back in the mid to late 80s, then they started bag and boarding most of them. But that was a lot of fun though, because you had to really dig through those boxes, and there no bags and boards. Everything was dinged up. Everything had bent corners, dog ears, et cetera, unless you were like the first one there. But nowadays, I generally do. I actually still do have a backpack, but I didn't take it. I forgot this Saturday. And as far as shipping goes, well, you guys put me to shame. I just generally do the Gemini mailer. I put it in a bag and board, and I bubble wrap it once, and I strap it down to the bottom of that Gemini mailer. And then I tape it up, just cross sectioned, and off it goes. I mean, if it's a real, I don't sell real expensive books, so I figured I've never had a complaint, so I figured that would be good enough.
Well, if you have never had a complaint, you're doing it right. One other thing I want to suggest to people who are selling on eBay, especially, it's not such a big deal in the comic community or in the Instagram community, but if you're selling on eBay, any book that I sell that's more than $500. I put a signature requirement on it, and it's not for them. It's for me, because I don't want somebody to say they didn't receive it. There's a lot of people who are sellers on eBay that scam you. There's also buyers that will try to scam you. They will buy a book, and then they'll say they never got it, and then they will open a claim, and a lot of times they'll win. But if you put a signature on it and they sign for it, it's almost impossible for them to win a claim because it's been signed for. They can't say it was sent to a different address or they didn't get it or something. They've signed for it. So 500 or above, smaller books, I feel like they're not as ripe for scammers, but anything over $500, I generally will add a signature requirement so the buyer has to sign for it. So just a tip.
That's a good idea.
It's a good idea. Yeah, I did sell a Thanos, that Thanos Quest 1. I sold one of those for $100. Oh, maybe a year ago, because it was dead perfect. I mean, absolutely dead perfect.
And that was good timing for that then.
Well, it was right. It was right after the movie, I think. No, not right after. How long did that movie? Yeah, it was before that movie. It was before the Avengers Infinity War. And for that one, I did get a signature confirmation. just to make sure, because it was $100, and I just tacked it on to the shipping, and they didn't have any problems with it.
That's cool. I got no problem with that. The only issue I have sometimes with signature confirmation is that I'm never home to get I mean, I'm home often, but you know what I mean? I'm never home during delivery time. It's like the worst time for me. So I've got all my cameras set up. So sometimes I'm just looking. I got a package today. Sometimes I'm just watching the security camera, staring at a box, waiting. You know, just watching the box. Like, that's my new job. My new job is to watch the security cameras for the rest of the day.
Well, if not, then you can just get it at the post office the next day. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah, no, on rare occasion they'll leave it. So I have a dog that now I've never.
Your dog signs?
No, the dog doesn't sign. I've tried to teach him, but he's no good.
Say, wow, that's a trick.
He's left-handed, and I just don't trust him.
Oh, okay. Southpaw. Okay.
It's southpaw. Oh god. So the dog, I've never seen him bite anyone, but supposedly he has a taste for mailmen. I don't know that that's the case, but supposedly, according to the U.S. Postal Service, he's a biter. So I've never seen it on camera or anything, but apparently he's taking shots at every mailman that comes over there. So, which is funny because he leaves UPS alone, but FedEx or U.S. Postal Service, he goes after him. So they don't like to leave packages. So I rarely get packages left at the house anymore. In the last year doing it, we got to come pick it up. But today I did have one sitting there, and I was like, "Oh man, how'd they get past the dog? You know what's going on?" Start worrying about my dog more than I was worried about the package today. You know,
maybe he had a little steak or something with him, or leftover lunch he threw his way.
Throwing bacon out of his back pocket. Hey, I'll show you real quick what I got today.
All right,
in the mail. I think you'll like it, Roger.
Sneak peek.
Yeah. Oh, that's a man thing.
Yeah, that's a 79 series. Yeah,
volume 2.
Yeah,
is what they put it. Number 1 at a 9.0.
You got a slab. I like it. Nice.
Yeah, it wasn't on purpose. So basically, as you guys know, I sell a lot to my local comic shop. Or one of my local comic shops, I can say now, since we have a big 2 in the area. So what happened was that I buy slabs, you know, kind of as low as I can get them, and I flip them. It's a lot of work to find slabs at a low price. It really is. It's a full time. So it's a good thing. Thank goodness for cell phones and all the other ways you can, you know, work from under a desk. So anyway, so I got this book to sell. And I really don't know what to do because I like it so much. I'm thinking about keeping it. But
yeah, I think the Man Thing, the Man Thing first appearance group is what I call it. I think is a very undervalued set of books. I think they are going to be worth a lot more money in the near future. 5 years from now, especially, they'll be worth a lot more. I think those are really good books. There's that one, which is the first in his own title. And there's Adventures into Fear number 10, which is, I think, the first solo Man Thing title. And then there's that Savage Tales, which is the first appearance, and that's like a fanzine.
But I think another Man Thing, volume 1, too, that you left out. Yeah.
Well, you're talking about the one in, there's a 72 and then 79 series? Yeah. So the first of each of those.
That's the 79 series there.
Yeah, my bad. There's 2 of those ongoing series. The first of each of those, then the Savage Tales, and then the Fear 10. I think are the 4 books that are really good to hold. So, I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you want to hold on to that. I think it's a sweet book. I think it's a Frank Bruner cover. Cool book, yeah. It's a minor bronze key. It's nice.
I think I'll go ahead and keep it. You know, the good thing is that as long as the shop is still open, I'll be able to sell it. So if I decide I'm hurting, for rent money or something, whatever, gas money to get to a con, then maybe I'll sell it for that. When something pops on my radar and I'm like, okay, I'm X amount of dollars shy of what I need to get it, and I'm willing to trade this book for it, then I'll do it. But right now, for the cash, probably just going to hold on to it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the Gray Man is
I
saying
don't
he's going to
know.
buy an old Heap comic sometimes. The Heap is a cool Golden Age character that looks like it's almost like a Man-Thing precursor. Real cool character. Appeared a lot in Airboy comics, Golden Age. And then if anybody's looking for some decent, cheap Golden Age stuff, Airboy comics or anything with the Heap in it from the Golden Age, it's really cool stuff and it's pretty cheap.
I was looking to get into that Captain 3D, or is it Captain 3D or?
Yeah, that's a 3D comic. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Golden Age, and I was looking to get into that one. And I think it's a pretty small run, and they're not very expensive, according to Simon Comics. So hopefully they're not. So I'm going to take a look at those.
If Simon Comics says so, then it's so.
Yeah, I think Golden Age 3D comics are super cool. I've got a few of them, and they're really cheap. I don't know why there's not more collectors seeking those out. That was sort of like the lenticular or the foil cover of the 50s. It was a big novelty, and they did a lot of 3D books, and some of them are really cool, and they have new art. I've got a Superman one from like 1953, and it's got original Superman art in it that doesn't appear anywhere else, and it's a 3D book, and it's tougher to find, but when you find it, it's not super expensive.
Is that the one with like the purplish cover?
It's got a blue cover. It's an oversized, like magazine size. There was a Batman and a Superman they put out in 53, and the problem is finding them with the original glasses. That's the problem with these 3D books. But they're out there, and when you find them, they're pretty cheap. And I'm surprised that I've not run across any collectors that are like, I'm trying to collect every Golden Age 3D book. They've got to be out there. It's a super cool novelty type of book from the Golden Age, and I really dig them. I've got a few. I just picked up another one. It was an LB Cole book, and it's graded. I put it on my Instagram. Jungle Thrills in 3D, and it's got an LB Cole cover. It's a 4.0. It's got the original glasses still attached on the inside. So I thought that was really tough to find, and I got it for pretty cheap. I was really happy with it.
Well, if you're going to mention LB Cole in 3D, even though I showed it last week, I'm going to show it again.
Here it comes.
I can't help myself. And since you mentioned that, and of course I do it in these clear backing boards, so you can see the front and back. So that's pretty cool. There's a 3D cover there, or 3D back cover on this LB Cole front cover book. And I'll carefully take it out and show you guys the original 3D glasses in there, which are brittle as heck. So it's actually got 2 pair. Pretty cool. And of course it has the back pieces in there too.
Is that normally have 2 pair, or is that like a error?
I don't know. This has 2 pair. I'm not going to argue about it. They're not in a staple, so like no one's stapled, of course, so you can slide them out. But this book is pretty close to mint. I mean, it's got a little bit of creasing. You can tell it's been read, but they must have used their own glasses. But those 2 glasses in there, I don't know if they always came with 2 or not. But I love it.
Did, especially the ones that Harvey put out a lot of 3D stuff in the 50s, pre-Comics Code, and they not always, but most of them had 2 sets of 3D glasses in them. Those are the only ones that are easy to find generally, and easy to find with both pairs of glasses still intact, and the books in near mint grades, because Harvey kept tons of file copies, which are now out there. So Dolly in 3D is one of them, and there's like Super Rabbit in 3D or something. I can't remember exactly what they are, but the Harvey ones, a lot of those had 2 sets in them.
Yeah, those clear backing boards and the resealable flaps are the way to go. I hate tape anywhere near the books, and I like the clear backing boards, and everything is Silver Age size. So I get a Silver Age size backing board. Clear backing board. I get a regular sized resealable bag, and the regular /silver, it's a 1/4 inch smaller than, actually it's an 1/8 of an inch smaller than silver, than your average Silver Age. And because of that, it gives it a little bit tighter fit, and it fits inside of a Silver Aged top loader very well. So that's how I make my little at home mini slabs,
Yeah, nice.
That's nice. Let me tell you, that's really, really nice looking. How much are those clear backing boards, if I may ask?
The backing boards are about $1 a piece, so you get like a 10-pack for $10. And then shipping happens. So if you can get them in bulk, you're in good shape. Otherwise, you might pay $4 or $5 for shipping. They're a little heavy when you get them. They're basically just acrylic. They're just I don't know what the millimeter is on them, but they're about the size of a regular backing board. Maybe 2 or 1.5 backing boards. Sometimes I'll use 2 of them. But you know what's funny? When you use 2 of them, you know what you get? Newton rings.
Right. Yeah, you get back cover. Yeah.
You get, if you press 2 of them together, you get Newton rings. And then on occasion, I'll have a book that is really has a lot of wave to it. So like my Werewolf by Night 32 has quite a bit of wave in it, or used to. So what I did was I actually sandwiched the comic between 2 acrylic backing boards. So obviously you can't tell, but there's actually an acrylic backing board here, and then another one on the back. And it's the book sandwiched between them to kind of do like a overtime pressing, you know?
Right.
And then in about a year, I'm going to take it out of that and see if it's completely gone. But it looks very, very nicely pressed now. That book had a ton of wave in it when I first got it.
Yeah, it looks real good.
Now it's nice and straight and clean. Looks like I bumped it up an imaginary grade. So
that's a pretty good experiment to have. You know, note when you did it, year later, bring it out, and then do it before and after.
Well, you know, Roger, like anything else, you need a control for these experiments. So if you wouldn't mind sending me your Werewolf by Night 32, I will hold them next to each other until the experiment's finished.
Well, I think you should, since yours has already been in that condition, you should send it to me.
I'll save you both the trouble. And I already tried this for like 3 months, and I've sandwiched a book between some stacks of some solid flat stuff. And I put a 25-pound weight on the top.
Holy cow.
And let it sit there for 3 months. And when I removed it, it looked exactly the same. So I didn't go a year. I did like 3 months, and it had no effect at all. It looked like it was completely smushed. And when I removed the stuff, it sort of puffed back up into the wrinkles and the folds and the waviness. So it didn't have any effect at all. It was a New Mutants 98, actually. I bought it for like $5. And this was before I was getting anything pressed, and I probably should have got it pressed because the only thing wrong with it was some waviness and a couple of like bends that were not color breaking. So it would have been a high 9s if I got it pressed. But I got it for like $5, and I did that for 3 months, and it didn't even affect it.
Yeah, but you might need more time. For that.
So yeah, you might have to go a year. So
yeah, I mean the fibers of paper have incredible memory. So if they've been folded back for 20 years, it's going to take more than 3 months for you to realign that.
So I tried little experiments. I tried some experiments to get rid of Newton rings on some new slabs, and nothing I tried worked. I tried everything from just anything to get the book or the plastic off of each other to eliminate the Newton rings. I tried to get something in one of the new slabs and move it back and forth, and that worked until I pulled the thing out, and then the Newton rings reappeared. And I tried ice. I even tried heat to try to get the plastic to expand or contract and maybe get rid of it. And that sort of changed the shape of the Newton rings, but it didn't make them go away or lessen them. I tried bending it back and forth almost to the point of cracking. I wasn't able to do anything to eliminate Newton rings. I tried everything. And I did it with a slab that wasn't worth anything, so just in case I damaged it. But
yeah,
so yeah, I try experiments all the time. And so far, none of them ever work.
Well, like I've heard people say that Newton rings can either get worse over time or can lessen over time. So I find that interesting. You know, when I look at a CBCS slab, there's no Newton rings. Generally, I've never seen one on there. Even PGX slabs don't have it. So I think it's whatever the inner well material that they're using at CGC has too much. It's got too much of the same acrylic properties as the outer casing, and when they touch together, they make the rings. And I'm telling you, I could make 2 for you right now. Take 2 of those backing boards, sandwich them together real tight, and you can see all kinds of oil slicks all over it.
Well, I suspect the Newton ring problem will be solved soon at CGC because obviously they're aware of it. I think what happened is they ordered all of this plastic from their supplier, and it generated Newton rings. And they had all this supply. They probably worked out a deal or a refund from their supplier, and they probably are just using all that stock until it's gone. And then the new stuff, whenever that kicks in, they will not have a Newton problem anymore. But when I get Golden Age books, I never have Newton rings on my Golden Age slabs, ever. It's only on the modern stuff and some silver stuff, I guess, but I don't really collect silver, but I see other people get it. But Golden Age books, I never have Newton ring problems on Golden Age slabs, ever. It's weird.
This one barely has any on it at all. It's really, really clean. You know, it has some. You can see some of the rainbow on there, but there's very little compared to what some of the other books I have are.
I mean, my understanding is that the way that the plastic is molded, if it gets even the minutest amount of air, it creates a small imperfection, and that, of course, the reflection or refraction of light creates that phenomenon of that circular pattern, which is the Newton ring. So even a slight, I mean, even a minutest amount of air that gets into the process will cause, but it doesn't affect the integrity, only the presentation.
Right. And you know, CGC, as we probably all know, is pretty cutthroat in their business. I mean, they will try everything to get customers, and you know, they try to be at every con. They sign deals at these cons to be the exclusive grader. They have these new incentive for crossover. I mean, they're cutthroat with their business. So I've got to think the biggest black mark on their resume right now is the Newton rings.
I'd say the only black mark.
Well, it's not the only one. I think their grades, some people disagree with it, but for the most part, yeah, it's Newton rings. You know, they're going to address that. They're going to go away. I just think they probably are trying to get through their old supplies of plastic instead of losing all the money on it. Or, I don't know. I don't work for CGC, but you know, they're aware of it. They're working on it. So, I mean, I'm sure the Newton ring problem will be resolved soon. That's my opinion, just based on what I would do if I was running that company.
I think we should all retire and work for CGC. I think we should just go all go over there.
That wouldn't be retiring then. That would just be changing jobs.
Well, I'm not going to really ask for any money, so I guess we should all retire and go volunteer at CGC.
Oh, if anybody's curious about how much it costs for CGC, I have just prepared this to pack up tonight and ship out. I'm shipping out 15 books that are pre-1975, and my total for quick press and grading for 15 books plus shipping back to me, $675.
Ooh.
So yeah, not cheap.
Yikes.
But there's some good ones in here that I'm going to sell, so I should easily make a nice profit off of these. But
how many books did you say you sent?
15. 15 is the minimum.
Quick press with that, right?
Yeah, you have 15 as the minimum to get the quick press. If you just get a pre-1975 book pressed, just one, it's like $25. If you do the quick press, it's like $12, but you have to have at least 15. So I got 15 books, all that are high grade that could use a press. So I'm getting 15 books pressed and then graded, and yeah, so $675 for the total.
How much does a press cost? Maybe it would be more cost effective for you to just buy a press.
It probably would be, except that pressing is a skill. It takes some experience. It's not as easy as just putting it between the metal and putting it down. There's temperature. There's the staples to worry about. I think a lot of people press books without considering the staples, and you can actually damage the book. You have to add moisture to the paper to press it. You can't dry press these things really good.
Well, I just figured somebody as exacting as you, DS, would probably have a better pressing job than even CGC.
Well, I am looking into it, and it's something I will do at some point.
Okay.
But they also dry clean the books too, and some of the books I'm sending in need a press, but also have some dirt like that.
Okay, well, yeah, I understand. If that's the case, I understand. But if it's just the pressing need.
Yeah, they dry clean and press. Quick press is like $12 for a pre-1975.
I'm pushing this, DS, because that way I can send you my books for you to press for me.
Yeah, once I get up and running, I will do that.
No,
but it all costs money
off of me. But I know that if I send them to you, that literally an atomic holocaust couldn't, destroy or repair my books.
Bomb-proof.
So that's why I want you to get the pressing machine, not because of expense or whatever. Just that I know that if I send my Hulk 181 over there, that it's going to be safe. It's going to be like, it's going to be like that keep in the middle of the desert, where they used to keep the gold and all that. That's what I figure your house looks like.
Well, it will definitely be well preserved here for sure. I've got a good system, but I've looked into the press. I've even shopped for some used presses. It's something I'll do at some point, but there's more to it than just slapping it in a press and closing the press. I mean, there's temperature, there's different types of books, different qualities of paper. There's moisture. You have to add moisture to these books, but if you add too much, you can ruin it. If you add not enough, it won't work. And then the dry cleaning is a whole other process. Pressing, there's staples. there's different areas of the books that need pressed. There's more to it than people think, and I'm you know, not to knock anybody who's doing their own pressing, but I see a lot of people out there offering to press books, and I'm very leery about using some people that I don't think have training or experience in pressing, because there's a lot more that goes into it. Just from my research and speaking to, I've spoken to a guy at Hero Restoration out in Oregon, I think. I used to send books to him, and I spoke with him on the phone numerous times about the process, and he wouldn't give me any specifics because it's their process and it's sort of secret. But speaking with him, doing some research, I've spoken with CGC on the phone about their pressing procedures, and I've researched it. ETA Nick, I think, is very high quality pressing on his own, and he's done some videos on it. There's more to it than one might think. So I'm not prepared to put a bunch of money in and just start throwing books down and pressing them. So I'm still in the learning curve, and when I get to the point where I feel like I'm ready to try it, I will be serious about buying a press.
Roger, I have this pre-pressed Hulk 181 for you. If you want to trade your book for this book, I'll ship it, and I'll ship it for free.
Yeah, that does not look right.
Just send your book first.
That looks like some kind of cardboard or something.
Just send. No, that's how good I am at pressing.
I mean, if you press that thing, you flatten it. You can't even read that thing.
You can read the cover, and that's all a slab's good for. So.
Listen, you're talking to the wrong person. If I can't read the comic, I don't want it. I don't care how good the cover looks.
All right, I guess we'll put it back.
Hey, a couple comments, DS, that I thought they were hilarious. Genome Presents says, books that no fear burn at the touch of DS's press. That is that. Genome, high marks, buddy. That is fabulous stuff. And Silver Dave says, I just stick all my comics between my mattress and box spring like a baseball mitt. Maybe I need a better pressing method.
Let me tell you, if he did that, he'd be Mile High Bedroom, because he's got so many comics.
Yeah, he'd need a tower to be able to press that many comics.
That's funny.
You know who recently, if anybody's subscribed to Comicholics channel, I think they recently sort of tried to do their own dry cleaning or pressing, and they talked about it in a recent video, and I was pretty impressed. It looks like they're early on in learning about it, but they're further ahead than me because they've been researching it and now they've tried it, and I think they've had some results. So I think it can be done. I don't think it's that hard, but I would caution anybody from just jumping in and buying a press and just start pressing books. I think there's a lot more to it than that, and I think the staples especially is something that people don't consider when pressing. You cannot just press a book just like it is, because those staples will damage the pages because it's thicker than the pages are, and it's not going to flatten under that press. You got to put something in between that keeps the book sort of like, like a backing board with a little slot cut out for the staple, so when you press it, the staple doesn't damage the pages when you're pressing it. But I mean, there's more to it than that, I think.
And especially if you're adding moisture, you have to be careful that you don't get it on the staples, I'm assuming, and start rusting process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Even if I were to start pressing books, I would be it would be difficult for me. I'd be very nervous about pressing like a rare book or a golden age book or something that was not like something easy to find, or something that had, something that's not in great shape. I don't want to damage the book more. And adding moisture to a book gives me chills down the back of my neck right now, just thinking about spraying moisture onto a golden age book. I'm not ready to try that yet. I leave it to professionals, and I use CCS, which is CGC's pressing service.
Okay.
That's good enough for me right now. I'm happy to pay the $12 per book for a dry clean and a press by professionals right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see your point, and I'm with you.
Yeah, I think I'm in between. So I think 2019, one of my comic goals is to buy a press and to start working on pressing and cleaning. That's actually one of my goals. I don't know how far I'll get on it. I got to make some workspace in the garage because those things are pretty heavy and pretty big, and you have to have real solid surfaces to work on them. I don't know that I definitely want the cheapest one out there. So I want to get one that has a good reputation, is a name brand, and even if I have to pay a little more for it, I think it'll be worth it in the end. But that's something I'm working on. I'm also working on perfecting, the idea of a slab at home kit. I don't like the comic skins slabs. I think they look very cheap and kind of kiddie looking. They look like toys. So I don't care for those. Also, the acrylic is really thin. And I'm not pretending that when I do get around to slabbing these books my own special way, that they're going to be as high quality necessarily as CGC. It's not going to be a CGC replacement. It may even cost more than CGC, but my goal would be to be able to take the book back out and read it and put the book back in easily. So obviously it won't be a graded slab, but it'll, have the information and everything for each book, and then also be and so anyway, that's the idea. So that's one of my 2019 goals, is to be able to press and clean books and have perfected a way that I slab them myself. So there's a lot of experimenting will happen on the way from here to there. So I'll keep you posted. It's going to be really tough to do without Roger sending me his books. So we'll have to keep working on that.
You got plenty of your own now. Like you can play nice with your own comics. Remember.
Yeah, and for 2019, I'm more on Silver Age Dave's level. He's looking to perfect a bagel pizza. That's about where I'm at. You're ahead of me on the pressing. If he could get a perfect bagel pizza, that'd be a huge 2019.
I do that all the time. That's super easy.
You're ahead of us. Some of us older guys,
Listen, I'm going to start a new grab bag system. It's going to be, BUB'S Boxo bagels and comics, and every comic will come with a pizza bagel. So just look out for that. 2020 is, I think we're going to roll out date on that.
Yeah, pizza sauce and comics in the same package being mailed out. That sounds like a winning combination to me.
Yeah, that's like Bueller box. I'm hoping he's not sending coffee with those comics that he sends out.
Oh, for sure. All right, guys. I think we've done it again. We've wasted everybody's time for an hour and a half, and we had a great time doing it. So there you go. I want to thank.
This is the best waste of time, of my week.
Me too. Same here.
By far.
I want to thank, even though he's in memoriam now, I want to thank Gil's 311.
I think he's still around somewhere.
He's somewhere. He's no longer with us, but he's with us. He's just not with us. Yeah.
He's with us in spirit, shall we say.
Absolutely. I thought I felt something touch my leg. I don't know what. All right. Well, good deal. Thanks, Gil's 311. For stopping by and sharing some of your stories with us, and for participating in the panel tonight. Thanks as always to DS Comics, and for Roger for Metarog for coming to us. If you're not subbed to all these guys, sub them up. I mean, Gil's 311, he's like at 220 subs or something like that, some ridiculously low number. So everybody sub him up. Yeah, it is.
He needs to make more videos, and he doesn't make them frequently enough. When he does, they're good.
Well, he's busy
and he
selling.
deletes them too.
He's busy selling all those copies.
That's true.
We don't have time for videos.
Hey, could you imagine taking 85 packages to the post? His back must have been killing him. He must have went in and got a cart and come back out.
I took 5 boxes today, and it took me a while to deal with that. And that was only 5, so I can't even imagine it. I try to stagger my auctions so I don't have to do them all on the same day.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's what I do with my video game. I sold a big video game lot, an old thing, and that thing was weighing 40 pounds almost.
Holy cow.
So, I just pull up to the post office and drop it off and then park. Hope nobody takes it.
You have to lock your doors when you get to your new neighborhood, and before you're sure that it's safe to do that.
Yeah, I have to case the neighborhood. That's right.
Yeah, case it out.
Yeah. No, this was like 8 a.m. There's nobody at this post office. It was just barren. It's cold. It was in the 50s.
Oh yeah, in the 50s. I don't want to hear it. We had half that today.
It was in the mid 50s. There was nobody out.
Oh man, you poor thing.
Yeah, I tell you, we got it rough.
Yeah, it sounds like it. All right. That's enough of that. Good night, everybody. Come back next week, No Faces Comic Chat, and we'll all leave with our signature goodbyes. First, we'll go to DS Comics. So say goodbye, DS.
All right. Thanks, everyone in the chat. Really appreciate it. Everybody make sure you do your homework, and I'll see you all later.
Thanks. And go ahead, Roger, and give us your farewells.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for stopping by and wasting time with us. Everybody be blessed and be back.
Thank you. And I will tell you all to read a comic. And we'll catch you next week on the No Faces Comic Chat. Bye-bye, everyone.